What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. We have Rick, Maddie, and Nikki back again. How you guys doing today?
Awesome.
Great.
Thank you.
In Japan, you will always refer to somebody when you meet somebody for the first time with their last name.
Yes.
But in the United States, first name, last name, which name do you refer to? How do you know when to call somebody by their first name? And how do you know when to call somebody by their last name? Maddie, how about you? Do you typically refer to somebody by their first name when you meet them? Or is there a situation that you would ever refer to them by their last name?
It depends how they're introduced to me, right? Are they introduced to me as this is Mary or Mrs. Smith? However they're introduced is how I'll refer to them. But a good way for me to gauge is when I email someone, I always just assume like Miss, Mr., their last name. But when they sign the email with their first name, that's always a good sign that they are comfortable with you referring to them as their first name in my experience.
And that's a great example, especially with email and you're not exactly sure how to refer to somebody. I think the safest way is to start, with their last name and then see how, once you get the email back, you'll kind of see how they like to be referred to. Yeah. Okay. Nikki, how about you?
Well, I guess it depends on the situation. If it's not a formal one, it's just like a casual one, like I'm meeting my daughter's friend's mum or somebody else, then I guess we can start straight away with our first names because it's just a casual conversation. While on the other hand, if it's like a formal business conversation or anything, I'd rather start with their Mr., the title, Mr. or Mrs., and their second name. Just to be on the safe side, and I'll wait until they tell me you can call me Mary.
Right. I see. So the safest way is maybe to say Mr., Mrs., or Miss and their last name. And then, immediately they might say, oh, you could just call me June, or you could call me John, or like whatever it is, right? Yeah. Okay. And Rick, how about you? What are your thoughts on this?
Depends on the place, situation. If you're in a classroom, of course, you refer to the teacher or Mr. Smith or professor in front of the students. But if you're alone with that person, you just use the first name. I always use first name. If I'm meeting a business client for the first time, we're usually handing out cards, and they usually say their first name and last name. I say my first name and last name, and then we just use the first name. We never use Mr. or Miss or Mrs. So it's always first name. In that situation, but if it's in a classroom or a kind of formal situation, I start using Mr. or Miss.
Mr. or Miss,
Miss or Mrs. because everyone can hear as well. So,
and let me throw this question at you guys because not too long ago I had this discussion with somebody else from the United States. Since we're on you, Rick, have you ever called somebody Mr., Miss with their first name? So like Mr. Rick or like Mr. June or Miss Maddie. Have you ever done this? And if you have, what kind of situation was that?
Jokingly.
Okay, jokingly.
I would never. Yeah, I would just.
You wouldn't do it. Okay.
No, I would just.
It's only for little kids, right?
Yeah. So same with you, Maddie. Like you've never used like Mr. June, Mr. Rick, Miss Nikki kind of thing?
That's pretty much in my experience. You guys can tell me your experience as well. Like for me, it's pretty much exclusively for young kids, how they refer to adults. Like when you're in kindergarten, first grade, maybe even second grade, your teachers are like, if I was teaching, little kids would call me Miss Maddie. That's just what kids. I have a few friends that are teachers and they call them Miss.
Yeah.
Like I don't know why we do that, but is that your guys' experience too, Rick and Nikki?
Yeah, Nikki, how about you? What's your experience with Mr. first name or Miss first name?
No, not really.
No, yeah.
Just the kids. Yeah, kids do that, but not me.
Yeah. So yeah, my personal experience very similar to Rick, Maddie, and Nikki. I don't think I've ever really referred to somebody as Mr., Miss, and first name. Maybe a teacher that like I said, maybe when I was a kid and the teacher preferred having their first name called instead of their last name, that situation came up. But so I had this discussion with somebody who was from the South, and I think he was from Alabama. And he said that in the South, it's actually pretty common for people to refer to each other, Mr., Miss, and first name. And I had no idea. It kind of blew my mind, actually, because I always taught my students saying, it's, pretty common just to say Mr. with last name. But, at least according to this person that I met, when you go to the South, whether you're an adult or a kid, it's just a way of showing respect to the other person. And, yeah, it was kind of like a culture shock moment for me being an American. So yeah, that's why I just kind of wanted to ask that question to you guys. So yeah.
Driving Miss Daisy.
I was just thinking that.
Right?
Just thinking that about that movie. I'm like, oh yeah. In that movie, yeah,
right.
I direct that so funny.
Daisy.
Words out of my mouth.
じゃあここでねちょっと話をまとめると最後にちょっとここ話したのがミスター・ミスの後にファーストネームを使う状況があるのかどうか。やっぱアメリカでは一般的にミスター・ミスの後っていうのはラストネームを使って表現するのが一般的なんですよね。僕もリック先生もねバディ先生もニッキー先生もみんなにやっぱ同じことにミスター・ミスの後にファーストネームを使うのはやっぱ違和感があると。でもし使うとしたら子供が先生とか子供が大人にミスターファーストネームっていう形式を使うけど、でも普通はねラストネームが来る。だから僕がでもね以前ちょっと実はアメリカ南部に住んでいるお友達と喋った時はアメリカ南部ではミスターとファーストネームを使って表現をすることが一般的っていうふうに彼は言ってたんですよね。だからそれは僕にとって初めてのことだったので今日ちょっと3人の先生に聞いてみようかなというふうに聞いてみました。で最後名前のとこなんですけどラストネームで呼ぶのかファーストネームで呼ぶのか相手がね自己紹介をするときに基本的にねその自己紹介の名前をね言うので私は何々です順ですって言ったらもうその名前で呼ぶというのが一般的です。Nikki, Rick, Maddie, thank you guys very much. And before we finish up, I just want to let everybody know that all three of our tutors today, Nikki, Rick, and Maddie, offer amazing English lessons on Cafe Talk. カフェトークというね、オンライン習い事サイトでニッキー先生、リック先生とマディ先生はね、もう楽しいレッスンを提供しています。みんなね、もう経験豊富な先生なので、もし興味のある方は、今日の、YouTube 動画の概要欄に先生のプロフィールを載せていますので、ぜひチェックしてください。カフェトークというオンライン習い事サイトです。